Hi, Sarah.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. We've had a really exciting week with Corey living in the front window.
I know
Uh,
that's pretty crazy
it's crazy.
in a good way.
We've had a lot of new people into a lot of new people into the library this week. A lot of great press, and hopefully a lot of interest in Vonnegut and banned books in general.
Good.
But what I was hoping you would do is because Sarah came out to visit us last year when her book 20 Boys Summer was banned from the same high school in Missouri that banned Slaughterhouse-five. But we have a different crowd this time, Sarah. So if you want to give us kind of a brief summary of last year's events, and then I'm dying to hear, what's been going on since you visited us. Anything related to the book or any other bannings or anything going on in your world and your writing and what you're doing and all of that before you read from your banned book, if you don't mind sharing all of that.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, so far, Republic, Missouri has been the only band that I've heard of. I think sometimes these things happen kind of quietly, but the Republic one is the only one that I was aware of, and that initially it was the challenge happened in 2010, so that was the first time I heard about it. But then by the time they got through all of the committee meetings and the things that they had to do, that's when the ban happened last year. And it was really, I was completely shocked because I've always thought of my book as, just kind of a quiet story about a family and two best friends getting over the death of a loved one and finding how to live and love again. So I was really taken aback by the whole controversy. Um, and it shocked me at how upset I was by it because a lot of people feel like, oh, it's if you're an author, it's a badge of honor to get your book banned, and who wouldn't want that? And I used to think that way too, until it happened to me. And then I remember when it happened, it was also the other book that was challenged but ultimately put back in the library was Laurie Haltz Anderson's book Speak. And she actually called me on the phone just to see how I was doing because she was kind of used to being banned and challenged, and that was a really great experience for me just to get to talk to her. But she said the same kind of thing. It's always just a surprise. It feels almost like someone is telling you that you're a bad mother, because I write for teenagers and I take that very seriously. I try to write stories that I feel are, authentic to the teen experience. And when someone comes and says that I'm doing something that could potentially harm teens, that was just really hurtful and surprising. But a lot of good came out of it because I was able to come to the Vonnegut Library and visit there. And I was also able to go to Republic and meet with a lot of the teachers and students who were affected by the ban, and the support was just overwhelming in both communities. So it's kind of the silver lining. Since that happened, though, um, it definitely generated a lot more awareness for not just 20 Boy Summer and Slaughterhouse-five, but I think banned books in general. Because of Kurt Vonnegut's book being banned, that really made it international news. So I got a lot of email from Britain and just different places overseas from people who'd heard about it, and that was exciting just to be able to connect with a whole other group of readers that otherwise I might not have ever been able to connect with. So I think it just helps to keep the conversation going about banned books and the importance of just supporting freedom of choice when it comes to reading and having discussions about issues with teens and not trying to shield them from things that they're going to come across in their daily lives anyway. So that was really the main thing that came out of the entire challenge. And since then, it's been pretty quiet in terms of anything controversial. Basically, it was all everything that came out of it, other than the individual who instigated the challenge, one of the parents in Republic. I haven't really gotten any negative feedback from anybody. It's all just been positive and making new friends and new fans, and that's always a good thing. So it's been it's been a great experience overall, even though initially it was kind of painful and shocking.
Right. Okay. I wanted to ask you this last night. I asked Michael Moore what his latest project is, and not surprisingly, he wasn't interested in sharing the details of his latest project. But it was worth a shot. People were curious. But what do you have going on now
So
with your work?
20 Boys around the actually I think Delilah was out. And then this past winter I had a book out called Bittersweet. And now my latest project actually comes out in May of 2013. It's called The Book of Broken Hearts. And it's about a girl who's helping her father restore his vintage Harley Davidson because he has early onset Alzheimer's. And she feels that if she can help him reconnect with his past, she can somehow fix him and cure the illness. And in the process of doing that, they hire a mechanic who happens to be the youngest brother in a family of notorious heartbreakers. The older brothers had broken two of her sister's hearts, and she swore an oath when she was a kid never to get involved with them. And now she's the only sister still living at home, and she's kind of trying to keep this off limits boy away, but they need him to help with the motorcycle, and it's really just all about letting go of the past and learning to live in the moment and be present with your life and not letting life and love pass you by. So that's my latest project, and I can't think of anything controversial that would come out of that one. But then again, I didn't think that for 20 Boy Summer either, so you never know. There is some kissing in there, and I know sometimes that kind of sets off the alarms. But teenagers kiss people, so you know.
When is that book going to be out?
May 2013. So
2013.
so next summer, next spring.
Maybe we can get you back to the Vonnegut Library for Banned Books Week next September as we continue the fight to get books back in libraries, and you can talk about that book.
Guys, anytime. It was such a great visit last time.
Corey was wondering if you want to live in the front window of the Vonnegut Library week.
As long as the coffee's good, that's the main requirement. Good coffee.
But is this a good well, let me ask, are there any questions for Sarah at this point? Oh, yeah. Dan Wakefield was jealous because his book Going All the Way was never banned.
Well, it's not. I mean, I like I said at the beginning, I think it's really not a great experience to have it happen. It's more of a bad experience that you find the good in, and that ultimately there is good to come of it. But it's very painful initially. I was angry, I was sad, I was just confused. I did not expect any of those feelings. So it's not something I would wish on anybody. And even though it did boost recognition and it did boost sales during that, the whole controversy, it's not what you would think. It's not like all of a sudden millions of people were out buying the book. It was more like it just introduced my book to people who might not have heard about it. And that was a good thing. But the amount of time even that I spent dealing with, what happened just with blog posts and interviews and things like that, because I really wanted to answer people's questions and address the, just general questions from the communities affected. That took a lot of time. So really, if you look at the sales versus the time where I could have been spending writing the next book, it's not as much of a career boost as it might look on the surface. For me, it's just that, like I said, it's an opportunity to talk about these issues and to remind people that, in this country, you think that, who would ever not have the freedom to read something, but it happens all the time with, lots of books across the country. So I think that that's really the good that comes out of it, an opportunity to talk about it.
I think, okay, so did you hear the question? Did the person who complained about the book, did he ever say that he actually did read 20 Boy?
No, I can show you what he did. This is what he did. He took the book and he saw the title, which is 20 Boy Summer, which I realize is a little bit of a risque title. And he kind of flipped through and looked for instance wherever there was a word that maybe triggered something like alcohol, drinking, sex, anything like that. And he went through and just kind of highlighted those passages. And there are so few of them in the book that I know for a fact that he didn't read it. Just some of the comments that he was making during the initial challenge. It was very clear that he had done exactly that, that he had literally just gone through and highlighted the offensive phrases, because he really didn't even know what the book was about. And his entire hang up with this book was that there's a scene where teens have sex using condoms, and he was very upset about that. He specifically said, teens on the beach having sex with their condoms. And there's a teen party scene where they're playing strip beer pong, which they basically strip down to their bathing suits. Which I realize is it's not something that we would want to encourage teens to do. It's just I'm sort of the vehicle for telling that story. It's not a how-to manual. This is how you have a party and drink and have sex on the beach. It's just, this is the story about girls who made different choices. And my hope was that it would sort of just inspire a discussion either between teens and their parents or among teens with their friends about what kind of choices they would make in that situation. But not everybody sees it that way. And it was just something that he really took out of context and turned in, well, what happened was that most of the school ended up reading a book that probably would have just sat quietly on the shelves if he had not challenged it. So no, I don't think he read it. I don't think Slaughterhouse-Five either, so.
Yes, is your book in this area, besides public school and parochial, did you see anything with the homeschool community? Were they banning the book, or do homeschoolers have more of a broad view of literature?
I didn't quite hear the question.
Okay, so the question was it just public banning of the book, public school, or do you see homeschools as being more open to what students read, or more restrictive, or can you say one way or the other?
I can't really say one way or the other. I don't know a lot of students that are homeschooled. Generally, when I hear from students that are homeschooled, when teens write, they tend to just give you a lot of information, like, "Hi, my name is Abby, and I live in Buffalo, and my favorite color is purple, and I just read your book," and so they might mention it. But generally, if they read my book, it's not for a school assignment. It's just, for their own reading pleasure, or maybe they got the book as a gift or a friend told them about it. As far as I know, the book was only challenged in Republic Public School District, but the person who initiated the challenge, Wesley Scroggins, is a homeschooling parent. So his children didn't even attend the public school, but he's on the board, or he's somehow connected with the community, and he was very concerned about the curriculum in general. My book wasn't on the curriculum. Like, I believe Slaughterhouse-Five and Speak were both part of the English curriculum in that school. My book just happened to be on a list of recommended reads because it had won an award that summer. And so in the library, they had a list of the winners, and that was on there, and that's how he heard about it. So along with challenging the 3 books, he also challenged a lot of the school curriculum. He wanted sex education completely stricken from the curriculum. He wanted any evolutionary science, any sort of social studies that didn't take a strict definition and interpretation of the Constitution. So, pretty much what you would expect from that kind of a challenge. He wanted all of it just done. He basically wanted to recreate the public school curriculum in the way that he had created his own homeschool curriculum for his kids. So I don't think that they took anything out of the curriculum. I think it was just the books that ultimately became the issue for the school.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the comment was, "Thank you, Missouri, for making Indiana look reasonable."
Well, the funny thing was, Missouri got, I think, a really bad rap because of that. And when I went there, honestly, I didn't know what to expect. The public library invited me during Banff Book Week, and I didn't know they had me scheduled for several events at different libraries throughout the community, and I wasn't sure what, I didn't know if some of the Wesley Scroggins and his posse, for lack of a better word, would show up and heckle me, or what would happen, or even if it could potentially get dangerous, because sometimes with those kind of challenges, anytime anything religious or controversial is involved, you just never know. And so I went in kind of cautiously, but really overwhelmingly, the community was so supportive. I even had elderly people coming up to me, and I'll never forget this one gentleman. He must have been in his 80s. And he bought my book, and so not the target audience for a book called 20 Boys Summer, but he said, I live in a retirement community with other old folks, and he's like, most of us can't even remember what we ate for breakfast, but we all remember our first love, and you need to keep writing about that, and I'm just going to buy your book to support you. And so it was that kind of thing, that was the majority of what I saw in Missouri. And all of the people who were ranting on the newspaper website, leaving their nasty comments, they didn't show up to any of the public discussions. And there was even one day where we had some of the teachers and some of the teachers from the Stockton, Missouri schools, which had gone through a similar situation, I think the year before, with Sherman Alexi's book, Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. And, none of the people that were supporting the ban showed up for the discussion. So that was interesting too. And Wesley Scroggins was supposed to show up for something to be interviewed by one of the NPR affiliate, and he canceled at the last minute. So, the Missouri community overall was wonderful. It's just like the bad apples kind of thing, a few of them, and stirring up controversy and making the whole state look bad.
Well, one thing really positive that came out of all of this for us is a judge in western Missouri who had his lifelong collection of Vonnegut books and magazines and other Vonnegut things. He was aware of this whole situation, and he donated his lifelong collection
Oh, wow.
of these priceless things to us last December. So we
Awesome.
actually have a real collection now.
Great. I can't wait to see it now.